Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know how this works. It's time for another deep dive. And this time we're going deep, deep into some seriously unsettling stuff. Poisoned internet.
Yeah, and I have to say, poisoned is the right word for this. This is scary stuff.
Seriously. I mean, we all know the internet's a wild place. But today we're talking about something even more unnerving. Hackers injecting harmful code into the very fabric of the web. The websites we visit, even the networks that connect us.
And it's the kind of thing most people don't even realize is happening, which is what makes it even more concerning.
It really is. We're going off some recent reports here, all about how these attacks are becoming more common and sophisticated.
And what's crazy is how they fly under the radar. We're talking poison web services, DNS manipulation things that can turn a routine visit to your favorite website into a total nightmare.
Okay, so let's start with poisoned web service attacks, right? Because websites, well, I think it's safe to say that's how most of us interact with the internet. So how does a poisoned website even happen? What does that mean? So it's actually simpler than you might think. A hacker finds a vulnerability in a website's code. Could be a small website, could be huge, doesn't matter. And they use that vulnerability to inject a bit of their own malicious code.
Okay, that makes sense. But wouldn't someone notice that, like the website owners or something?
Not necessarily. Here's the thing. This malicious code, it's designed to blend in. It's often hidden within legitimate code, so to the untrained eye, it looks totally normal. And even when the website loads for you and me, everything seems fine, looks normal, no big red flags.
So you could visit a website, everything seems totally above board, but behind the scenes, you're already being targeted.
Exactly. Let's say you click a link, right? And that link takes you to what appears to be, I don't know, www.abc123.com. Sounds innocent enough, right?
Yeah, totally. It's just a random website, nothing suspicious there.
Exactly.
Mm.
But because the site's been compromised, clicking that link, or even just loading the page, could be enough to trigger the malicious code. Suddenly, without you even realizing it, malware is being downloaded onto your device.
Wow. Okay, so that's one way it happens. But in the reports, there was this other thing too, right? Something about comment sections and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Cross-site scripting or
Mhm.
XSS, that's a big one. See, not every website owner is a coding wizard, right?
Mhm.
So security practices vary, and sometimes they leave these openings, these little vulnerabilities, especially in places like comment sections, forums, those kinds of user-generated content areas.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yep, hackers, they spot these weak points and they think, jackpot. Because all they need to do is slip in a little snippet of malicious code, disguised as a normal comment or post.
Okay, so the code is just sitting there like a trap, waiting for someone to stumble upon it.
Right. And the worst part, your browser, the thing you trust to keep you safe online, it has no idea it's being tricked. That malicious script, it's able to execute just as if it were part of the original website.
And that's when the damage is done. So what can that look like for everyday people? What's the worst case scenario with XSS?
Well, it could be anything from stealing your login credentials as you type them in, redirecting you to other malicious sites without your knowledge, or even hijacking your entire browsing session. It's like this. Imagine you open your front door to accept a delivery, but instead of a friendly courier, it's a thief who sneaks in when you're not looking.
That's terrifying. And what's even scarier is that this isn't limited to just websites, right? You mentioned DNS manipulation earlier. What's that all about?
Right, so websites are bad, but think about this. DNS poisoning, it targets the very system that connects you to websites in the first place. Imagine the internet as this massive, complex city, okay? And DNS, the domain name system, it's like the city's phone book.
Okay, so far so good.
We use website names like google.com or whatever because it's easy for us to remember. But computers, they think in numbers, IP addresses, those long strings of digits.
Right,
So
right.
when you type in a website name, DNS jumps in to translate that name into the corresponding IP address so your computer knows where to go.
So it's like DNS is the GPS of the internet, guiding our computers to the right online location.
Exactly. Now imagine someone messed with those GPS coordinates.
Right.
Right. Instead of ending up at your intended destination, you're sent somewhere else entirely, somewhere dangerous.
And that's DNS poisoning.
Bingo. Attackers find a way to corrupt DNS servers, those master directories that handle these translations. They slip in their own malicious IP addresses, and suddenly you're being redirected to a website that looks identical to the real deal. But it's not. It's a fake, controlled by the hackers.
And that's where that term farming comes in, right? Like when they create those fake websites that look just like your bank's login page or whatever.
Exactly. And here's the thing about farming. It can be really, really hard to detect. Because even if you're super careful, even if you double, triple check the website address in your browser bar,
You could still get tricked.
yep, because your computer is still relying on that poisoned DNS server for directions. It's like following a map that's been deliberately altered to lead you astray.
This is all pretty unsettling. I mean, it feels like we're constantly being bombarded with news about data breaches and cyber attacks. So, where do we even begin to protect ourselves?
Well, the first step, honestly, is awareness. Just knowing that these threats exist is huge, you know? And understand that the internet, for all its wonders, it wasn't designed with security as the top priority. It's kind of like an old house that's been added on to over the years. You've got all these different rooms and hallways that weren't part of the original plan. And, well, sometimes there are going to be weak spots.
So, what can we do about it?
Well, there's no magic bullet, unfortunately. But there are definitely steps you can take. Make sure your operating system and all your software are up to date. Those updates, they often include security patches that address known vulnerabilities.
So, don't ignore those update reminders.
Seriously, just do it. Another good tip, use a reputable DNS server. Your internet service provider usually assigns one by default, but there are others out there that prioritize security.
Okay, any other tips? Should we all become hermits and live off the grid?
Well, that's always an option. But for those of us who like the internet, just be smart. Be wary of public Wi-Fi networks, especially if you're dealing with sensitive information. And use a strong, unique password for each of your online accounts.
Or even better, a password manager. Those things are lifesavers.
Absolutely. The key takeaway here is this. In the digital age, knowledge really is power. The more you understand about how these threats work, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
I completely agree. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the doom and gloom, but it's important to remember that we're not powerless. We have the ability to be informed, to take precautions, and to navigate the online world safely. Well, as safe as we can be anyway.
Exactly. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep asking questions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the often unnerving but always fascinating world of cybersecurity. And remember, the internet might be a jungle, but with a little bit of knowledge and a whole lot of caution, we can all make it out in one piece. See you next time.